I remember it was the second day of the fire, and it was about 4 o'clock when the fire had passed from here, but all these bushes were steaming. So we came from the house to put some ground on it so that we could stop it. But it was exactly the time that we were close to this bush that the flames went on, and we were all going back because a new fire was coming again, and we couldn't do anything because it was about 5 meters high.
In late June of 2021, Paros, Greece suffered one of the largest wildfires the island has ever recorded. The fire burned with rage for 2 days near the village of Lefkos and along the ancient Byzantine Trail. Though no homes or infrastructure were damaged, the residents of Paros were left in shock at the charred remains of their land.
Well, since I moved here, there was always smaller fires, bigger fires. But the fire last year was one of the worst fires. When you recognize that the island is not prepared at all for what's to come, including the over-tourism, but as well the infrastructure is not ready for anything. There's like hundreds of thousands of tourists coming to Paros every summer, but then on the other side there is big fires like this have to be fought by volunteers mostly. Of course, they get help from the mainland, but basically, in case of fires, there needs to be more awareness of how a little spark can create such a vast destruction.
For the last 2 years, Austrian expatriate Bernie Steinbach has been taking aerial photographs of burnt areas of the island and mapping them out digitally to demonstrate the extent of the damages caused from the fires.
For me, it was important to, with my knowledge, to try to document the vastness of the area that these fires destroyed. There you see, okay, everything is burned left and right, everything is black, still smoke. But only then, when you go up with a drone and have a look from above, you actually experience the area that has been covered by the fire.
The hazard of fire is prolonged now because of climate change. So it would start already in April or May, and it would continue until well into October, sometimes November, because the last few years we can go even for 8 months without rain. So you can imagine everything is scorched very early. Generally speaking, the Mediterranean climate is quite fragile, a fragile climate, and we are on an island, so it's even more fragile. It would be a denial to say that we don't see the impact of climate change or general environmental change.
It was a big part of the island that was burned, especially this part of our house, over our house, I mean. In fact, we have olive yards with olive trees from where we have the oil for our family, and it was burned. Of course, there was also wild plants that keeps animals, wild animals and birds, and now there is nothing left.
When it comes to the flora, there are some key species that do not recover from fire, like the junipers we have. We have 2 juniper plants that are very, very important for the ecosystem, and the one was very prominent. It was abundant on the areas that were burned, and we don't expect this to come back. There are other species that will recover, and it It is true also that the areas that were burned were arable land in the past, like 30, 50 years ago. So these are factors that end up to the perfect storm or the perfect fire for that matter.
Despite the devastating loss caused by the fires, there was no shortage of help within the community of Paros. The fire brigade responded with the assistance of brave volunteers and locals.
You need some helpers, we say. Volunteers. That is what they bring you food, they bring you water, they bring you supplies for the people who is close to the fire. I am also in civil protection, so when something like this happened, we call the authorities, we call people who is volunteers and all this.
Banding together to stop the fire from spreading, the Paraean people used all of their available resources to protect their homes.
It took quite a long time until the firemen came here. And until that time, we were trying to move things that it's easy to get burned. We were trying to close windows and put some wet towels on the windows and such things. All the days after the fire, we were very angry with the people that said that, okay, it's nothing, nobody was hurt and the houses didn't burn down, so it's okay. We don't care about the plants, it will go again and such things. And that was something that made us crazy, really. As I say, our life is here and we choose to live here because of the environment. We love the surrounding and everything. That means that it was a very hard experience to see everything burned down. You can see here the nature is trying to reborn. It's a miracle. And what gives us some hope that maybe in some years we can see our hill again.
The most important thing to do is to stop land use change. Land use change is the number one factor for climate change. Areas of the island that are revegetated through the years, you will keep them intact. This is the most important thing to do because agriculture is no longer a main factor for land use change on the island. Building is, and it's just a matter of having regulations in the building system. That's the number one thing.
We really would like residents and people who come here to be aware that the island is very prone to wildfires. If we can raise awareness, that would be already a nice achievement for us.